Today's Retro Spot, we are having a look at the Kenner, Swamp Thing, the Evil Unmen figures. We're having a look today at Weed Killer with Bog Sucker Biomask. One of the few times you'll ever see Bog Sucker Biomask on a figure's packaging. Not recommended for children who still put objects in their mouth. Contains small parts. I guess really with Weed Killer, he does come with a side weed killing weapon. So yes, that would be something that would, you wouldn't want a child choking on. Recommended for ages 4 and up as well. This comes from the folks over at Kenner. On the flip side of the back section of the package, Weed Killer with Bog Sucker Biomask. That's awesome. This herbicide sprayer has a biomask that transforms him into a giant leech, ready to suck up Swamp Thing. With the Bog Sucker Biomask, herbicide specialist Weed Killer becomes one of the evil unmen, a giant leech, ready to suck up Swamp Thing. He can hold his can of mace in both hands as shown right here. Also, the figure and mask's eyes glow in the dark after a short exposure to light. Biomask's mouth can bite Swamp Thing. Indeed. The figures that would have made up this set from 1990, the Swamp Thing figures are Snare Arm Swamp Thing, Camouflage Swamp Thing, Bio Glow Swamp Thing. Bring the camera in, of course I can do that. We also have Snap Up Swamp Thing. And of the evil unmen, there's Anton Arcane, Dr. Demo, Weed Killer, and Skin Man. Also, vehicles available would have been the Bog Rover and Marsh Buggy. At one point, Spot was actually collecting all back cards after I was finishing opening up figures. I was kind of held on to these. But after a while, I held on to so many of them that I had several binders worth of them. But I still really love going back and looking through these catalog of old characters, being able to see them all on either a flyer insert, sometimes that came with figures, or in this case, the back cards. Somebody somewhere in this world should really come up with a museum of old 80s packaging. I definitely would be checking that out. Needless to say, Spot's going to take a break and get this opened up. When we come back, we're going to get a better look at the Kenner Swamp Thing Evil Unmen Weed Killer. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Sadly, with Weed Killer, his one problem with this particular figure is that he's extremely pre-posed. He's bent at the knees, he's kind of hunched over, and he's really the only figure in this line that actually has this. Case in point, bringing in Anton Arcane, you can see how he stands completely straight. Weed Killer, on the other hand, yes, okay, you can write off the fact that he's a little more of a mutated character, but he still is pre-posed with the bent knees and the hunched over posture. Moving that to the side, moving Anton to the side. At least where Weed Killer is pre-posed, which I've never been a fan of pre-posed figures. Just give me a straight figure at any day of the week, except for Wednesday. Wednesday's usually a bad day for me. But I mean, Weed Killer is a good looking piece. He's very vibrant, very bright in orange, which is something that I can't say really for Anton. Anton was very basic in color with the blue and the purple and stuff like that. Weed Killer, on the other hand, really stands out. The nice green, I want to even say like it's a teal green, teal bluish green with the orange. Really, a lot of it stands out very well. His face is, well, I guess he's wearing a gas mask. His eyes also do light up the same way that Anton's eyes lit up. And as for his weapon, his bog sucking, here we go. His weed gun, it doesn't really have a handle or anything like that. It's got this end piece that really serves as the handle. But you really don't even have him holding it. I mean, it sits in his hand, but only really by friction. And then you kind of just prop it against his hand. His other hand, I should say. And you have something that looks like that. I mean, it's not phenomenal. It's not phenomenal at all. I mean, it's just... It doesn't even really look like a gun. It just looks like he's holding something green. It almost even looks like a rolling pin. It's like he's holding a rolling pin. But, of course, with him being also an unmen, he has the inclusion of his leech head. Before we do that, though, his articulation on Weed Killer here, his head rotates all the way around, and standard swivel in the arms here. Standard swivel also in the legs. He's got peg holes, though I don't believe he actually makes use of any sort of peg holes in the vehicles or anything like that. But there you have Weed Killer. Now, as I had mentioned, he does also come with his leech head. I would say, I don't know, I kind of feel like aside from it having the color in the mouth, which Anton's spidery head really didn't have, this one probably might be the more least interesting head pieces. It does, yes, have the color, but it kind of just looks like a Muppet with these extra legs. And I mean, they are rubbery pieces the same way that the spidery mask was for Anton. It's just a rubber head appliance that goes over top of, in this case, Weed Killer. It is translucent, not completely see-through, but it is a translucent plastic, rubbery plastic. It's supposed to latch onto Swamp Thing, but it's basically just a hole. I mean, I guess you could put his arm into there, his hand, but it's a very large opening. Collectively, the head, the body of Weed Killer together, he's interesting looking, but I think he's almost probably the more disappointing head. Again, if anything could be said, at least for Anton's head at least is proportioned properly. This again just kind of looks like a mutated Muppet. Without the mask, it's a shame he's pre-posed because at least he's one of the more vibrant looking colored unmen in this set. As for rating, I think I'm going to give Weed Killer here, I'm going to give him a 7. Today's Retro Spot, we were having a look at the Kenner Swamp Thing Unmen figures. We're having a look today at Weed Killer. Don't be going anywhere, guys. Spot's going to be having a look at more Swamp Thing figures and other retro spots heading your way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.